Al Jazeera is again at the forefront with negative propaganda on Bhashan Char. There is a saying that a bad habit never disappears miraculously. It has been again proved to be true in the case of Al Jazeera News. Just for the lust of making something sensational, they are constantly coming out with different baseless news. Again, they are telecasting fabricated news against Bangladesh and undermining Bangladesh's tireless and sincere efforts in bringing qualitative changes in the temporary rehabilitation of Rohingyas. On 16 June 2021, Al Jazeera, in one of their programs named Stream, telecast a talk show titled Bangladesh Is Bhashan Char a Prison Island for Rohingya Refugees? In this talk show, few points were highlighted which were devoid of any factual realities. The first point was about mental isolation in Bhashan Char. Any sensible man will appreciate whenever you are away from home, even amidst the luxury and hustle-bustle of big cities, you feel homesick. You feel lonely. So, it is not Bhashan Char-centered psychological syndrome, rather a general phenomenon for all people who remain far from home. Secondly, there was an allegation that the Rohingyas are subjected to restrictions on freedom of movement. Taking lessons from the Cox's Bazar camps, security measures are imposed for the safety of Rohingyas from human traffickers, drug peddlers, and other negative elements of the society. Can Al Jazeera cite any example in the world where the refugees in Europe, Australia, and elsewhere are allowed to roam freely? The third point was about healthcare and educational facilities. In Bhashan Char, adequate facilities are in place in terms of these. The fourth point was related to ensuring livelihood options. Now, quite a few NGOs, including BRAC and K-Craft, are working on the island. Once the UN comes into Bhashan Char, there will be a substantial improvement in the situation. Now, can we ask Al Jazeera, which are the countries in the world that have ensured constant employment for the refugees except providing subsistence allowances and reliefs? It may be mentioned that in recent times there have been several important visits to Bhashan Char, including the visits of the OIC Assistant Secretary General, the 18-member UN team, UNHCR delegation, and most recently a group of ambassadors. During all these visits, the Rohingyas spontaneously and happily interacted with the visiting guests, both in informal and formal settings.
I don't think the government has a bad intention. They have done a lot for the community. We have to praise Bangladesh for what it has done for Rohingya refugees.
Hence, broadcasting such baseless programs, defying the general comments of all these personalities of UN, international organizations, and diplomatic missions, tantamount to insulting Bangladesh and the international community. The government of Bangladesh has built such a vast infrastructure at Bhashan Char that is unprecedented in the history of the world, as no other country has ever developed such superb facilities for refugees or displaced people. Such facilities not only ensure better living or comfort, but also symbolize a new ray of hope amongst such traumatized Rohingyas. Fact remains that when the whole world is busy dealing with the menace of the COVID-19 pandemic and other strategic issues related to the Israel-Palestine conflict, new security dimensions revolving around Quad, etc., such unfounded propaganda against Bhashan Char will divert the attention of the international community from the ringside of the Rohingya crisis. The world community and the UN must come forward more robustly in dealing with this crisis. Otherwise, the dreams of more than millions of innocent Rohingyas for a dignified and peaceful life will be in jeopardy.